Hello friends, this is Ralph. Are you double guessing your decision to buy the Behringer UB-Xa, or is doubt creeping in after reading certain comments in online synth forums? I have recently noticed that there are some users who are returning their UB-Xa to the retailer or are selling it on to others. Therefore, I will be sharing my reasons why I am super happy with the Behringer UB-Xa and why I am keeping it in my studio. I will also talk about some points that are currently being raised and discussed about the UB-Xa in synth forums. Perhaps my reasons to keep the Behringer UB-Xa will inspire you to look at it in a different way and will help you to dispel some of your doubts in case that you have any. So stay tuned. The first thing I want to talk about is the sound. I couldn't be happier with it. I have mentioned this already in my very first video about the UB-Xa. If you are looking for a specific Oberheim vintage sound, then you will find it by tweaking the atrophy settings according to your desires. For those who don't know it yet, the atrophy settings are kind of sound profiles which simulate the wear and tear of vintage synthesizers. Let's listen to the 8 default atrophy settings on the UB-Xa. Before we do this, my name is Ralf Baumgartel. Please subscribe if you are new and like this video to receive future updates. Okay, now let's step through the atrophy profile settings. I want to point out again that at the time of recording this video, the atrophy profile settings are global settings. That means an atrophy profile change will affect all the patches that you have stored in memory. You cannot save an atrophy profile setting into an individual patch. I'm pretty sure that Behringer is going to fix that with a firmware update. But once again, at the time of recording this video, the atrophy profile settings are global. So now let's step through the atrophy profiles and let's listen. So we start with the atrophy profile number 1, UB-Xa. Personally, that's the profile I like most. So then we move to number 2, that's OB8. Number 3, that's called Creamy. Number 4, that's Aged. Then we have number 5, Gnarly. And we have here number 6, Bright. Then we have number 7, Modern. And then we have number 8, Wider. And then back to UB-Xa, my favorite. So if you wish, you can change the attributes of the profile setting according to your desire. You can dive really deep into the settings and come up actually with your own profile settings. I have been playing around with the atrophy settings for quite a while now, and I have come to the conclusion that personally the standard unaltered UB-Xa profile is the sound which I like most. It sounds fresh and modern while maintaining that typical Oberheim vibe. So let's move on to the next point. I have read in some online synth forums that potential customers and owners of the UB-Xa say that Behringer should have included an onboard effect unit, like they did with the DeepMind. Perhaps then the DeepMind 12 is a better solution for some users, but you could also consider to get one of these. The Zoom Multi-Stomp MS70 CDR. This effect pedal is very affordable, and because of this you could make it a dedicated effect unit just for the UB-Xa. You can stack effects upon of each other on this pedal, for instance combining a chorus, equalizer and delay, but that's totally up to you. Use the Zoom to mold and design your specific sound that you want to get from the UB-Xa. The next point is a little bit more complicated, and people have been talking about it even before the UB-Xa was released, and that is the position of the display. It's located toward the right side of the synthesizer and not in the center. And I agree, when you are sitting in front of the UB-Xa, you always have to lean toward the right side in order to get a better view at the display. But since I am usually standing when playing my synthesizers, the position of the display is not that much of a problem for me. A slight weight shift to the right side gives me a good view at the display. Perhaps that might also be a good solution for you. Just give it a try. And now I want to talk about the versatility of the Behringer UB-Xa. I recently had to move my studio to a new place, and that's where my new Behringer UB-Xa came in pretty handy. I was able to get started with a basic setup without having to move all my other gear at once. The polyphonic aftertouch keyboard of the UB-Xa gives me a great master keyboard, which I am also using for my digital audio workstation. The UB-Xa is multi-timbral, which means the UB-Xa has the ability to play several different sounds at the same time. Each different sound or musical part can be controlled by a different MIDI channel. And the 16 voices give me enough room to also play some notes on the keyboard while a musical arrangement is playing from either the internal sequencer or from a DAW which is sending MIDI data to the UB-Xa. Bear in mind, in split keyboard mode you can send MIDI data to the lower and upper section of the UB-Xa on different MIDI channels, and thereby playing different sounds. Here's a little track on which I was applying this process. One more thing, you can control a lot of the Midi MPE settings not only with the UB-Xa but also with the SynthTribe app. I hope that Behringer is going to add more features to the UB-Xa synth and also to the SynthTribe app with future firmware updates. Okay friends, I hope my video helped you to see the Behringer UB-Xa in a new or different light in case that you had some doubts about it. Kindly let me know what you are currently thinking about it by dropping a comment below. And it might also be a good time now to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done so yet. Your support is always highly appreciated. Thanks a lot. That's the end of the video and I thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again in my next video, and until then, take care, stay safe, peace.